All summer long, this afternoon, with Bryan Robson at last on his way to a meeting at Old Trafford, Atkinson wore the anxious look of a man about to spend upwards of £2 million buying another man.
He's not here yet, then.
At last, the golden boy arrived, his limousine swishing through the Manchester puddles. With him, his wife, his solicitor, his personal manager and his accountant. Once you could have bought United, ground and all, for less than £2 million. This is the happy face today of the one player now said to be worth that astonishing sum. Well, are you having to sign right now?
Well, I'll have to see Mr. Atkinson and see how it goes.
But Mr. Atkinson put an end to any more talking. This evening, as Robson returned from a 2-hour medical, things were obviously proceeding well. Ahead lay more talks behind the closed doors of the manager's office, but soon they were ready to say the deal was all but done. He'll sign tomorrow. Mr. Atkinson reckons he's got a bargain.
Hey, you pay for quality. He's gold dust.
But even at a time when clubs are struggling, you think it's worth paying that sort of money, do you think?
Hey, listen, I've just said to you earlier, we've signed. If we get the lad, we get the best. And, you know, you have to pay for the best, you know.
Are you a happy man tonight?
Be a lot happy when I see him put a red shirt on and play for us.
Good luck with that.
So, as Mrs. Robson prepares to move her home north, her husband has quite a task ahead. Can he justify that colossal price tag by packing them in at Old Trafford? Wednesday should begin.
You've really wanted to leave?
It's very difficult. You know, you go out and you try to play your game, but it's always in the back of your mind that you've had your bit of, you know, trouble with the club. But you try to go out and you try to give 100%, and that's all you can do.
Mm-hmm. Ron, what do you feel, what qualities do you feel Bryan will bring to Manchester United?
Well, I've gone on record as saying I think he's the most complete midfield player in the country. He's a great competitor. He's a good passer of the ball, tackles well, strong in the air, scores goals, and he's versatile. You know, he can play at the back as well, but I fully intend to use him in a driving position from the middle of the field.
Mm. Now, you've spent all this money. I would imagine there'll be some pressure to balance the books, even at Manchester United. Does that mean players will go, and if so, who?
No, I think when you say there'll be some pressure, I think that's inevitable in football anyway. Players come to clubs and players go. At this moment in time, I couldn't tell you one player that will be leaving Manchester United. That's not to say they won't. Circumstances sometimes dictate that, but you know, I've got nobody specifically in mind to say as soon as Bryan Robson signs, another player's leaving. What I will say is an awful lot of players like playing for Manchester United. In the short period of time since I've been at the club, I realised that. Mm-hmm. And anybody that does his stuff at Manchester has got no problem.
Now, how do you think the fans will take to Bryan? What sort of reaction has there been so far to his signing?
Well, it's everything. We haven't really had an awful lot of chance to sort of meet or talk to the fans. You know, there's been some at the ground, but they'll appreciate him because they appreciate class, and he's truly a class player.
There's been an awful lot of criticism about the amount of the fee, you know, in these difficult economic times. How would you justify that, or do you feel you have any need to justify it?
I don't really feel I've got a need to justify it, but I'll explain my position, or how I feel about it, is that if you want the best, you know, you have to pay for the best. And in my opinion, and in most of the considered experts' opinions, this fella's the best.
Mm. Bryan, a lot of players, I say a lot of players, there haven't been that many £1 million players, but one or two seem to have felt the fee a bit of a millstone round their neck. What are your thoughts about carrying that sort of enormous price tag?
Well, to me, Desmond, it's between the clubs. You know, they put the tag on you. And I'm just going to go out and try and do my best for Manchester United and forget the fee. Mm.
Now, you're looking forward to playing, obviously, but you're not playing tomorrow, are you?
No, we haven't been signed in time.
But you hope to play when?
Wednesday will be Tottenham in the League Cup.
Right. The fans, for instance, are entitled to for us to try and endeavour to get the best here, and they'll get full value for money out of this fella. This fella's not even, you know, it's not even a gamble, you know, buying a player like him, because he's
a rarity in as much as he's a defensive midfield player that scores a number of goals.
Well, the fact that he is a defensive midfield player, and yet you paid that kind of money for him, the public, and I think a lot of people in the game might feel that in the past it was forwards that people paid a lot of money for, people who would score goals and excite the crowds, and now we're getting defensive midfield players who are costing all this money.
Yeah, probably I should rephrase that a little bit. I should say he's a midfield player that can defend. certainly can defend, but certainly he's got this quality of going forward and scoring goals. I mean, he probably, most seasons he gets somewhere around about 10 or 12 goals, and without taking any of the penalties and things like that. So that's a fair return, you know. There's a number of well-known quality strikers don't score that in a season.
But does he have that sparkle, that little bit something special that you've had up there at Old Trafford over the years with the Lawbests and Charltons, that people will want to go and see him play?
I think he could have played with those people and not looked out of his depth. You know, one of the phrases I've used about him in the past is he's a scruff of the neck player. He gets hold of games and takes control of games, you know, and there's not too many players in the country can do that today, is there?
Well, that's a fact. What sort of contract have you got him on?
It's a good one. He's staying with us for 6 years.
You must feel a little bit sorry for West Brom because they thought they had him tied up for 3 years.
Well, the original contract, which I negotiated, in fact, for West Brom, was 5 years. But, you know,